Have you ever found yourself feeling overwhelmed by life's daily challenges? Do you ever wonder why some people seem to handle stress so effortlessly while others struggle? What if the way you think could change the way you live, transforming your day-to-day experience into one of clarity, peace, and joy? It's a powerful thought, isn't it? Imagine waking up every morning with a clear mind, ready to face whatever comes your way. Your thoughts guide you, not control you. You feel empowered, in control, and truly alive. This is the power of thinking smarter. It's not about being more intelligent or having all the answers, but about being present, focused, and aligned with the flow of life. In this video, we'll explore how adopting certain mindsets, inspired by Buddhist wisdom, can help you live better. It's time to unlock the potential that lies within your mind. Welcome to Wisdom Woven. If you've ever wondered how to approach life with more ease, clarity, and peace, you're in the right place. Today, we dive deep into the art of thinking smarter so you can live a better life. But before we continue, did you know that while there are so many views on this channel, only 0.2% of people actually subscribe? So, if you're finding this valuable, why not be part of that 0.2%? Like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Doing so helps us reach more people and bring more wisdom to the world. As we explore how Buddhist teachings can help us think smarter, remember, it's not about having all the answers, but about being mindful, aware, and intentional with each moment. Let's dive in and discover how smarter thinking can transform your life. Starting now, the art of mindful awareness. In our lives, the mind is like a wandering child, constantly moving from one thought to another. It jumps from memories to worries, from hopes to fears, and it never seems to stop. If we are not careful, we can easily get caught in this endless cycle. But what if we could pause for just a moment? What if we could learn to be aware of what's happening right now, in this very moment? This is the art of mindful awareness. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to the present without judgment. It's about observing life as it unfolds, rather than reacting to it. Think about a time when you were fully present. Maybe you were enjoying a warm cup of tea, walking in nature, or simply sitting with a loved one. In that moment, there was no past to regret or future to fear. There was only the present, clear, simple, and peaceful. In Buddhism, mindfulness is considered one of the most powerful tools for cultivating wisdom. When we are mindful, we see things as they truly are, without the cloud of our biases or preconceptions. We stop seeing the world through the lens of I want or I don't want, and instead, we experience it directly. In this way, mindfulness helps us break free from the patterns of thinking that often lead to suffering. So, how can we practice mindfulness in our daily lives? It's simpler than you might think. You don't need to set aside hours of your day for meditation, though that can be helpful. Mindfulness can be woven into even the most ordinary tasks. For example, when you wash your hands, simply pay attention to the sensation of the water on your skin. When you eat, focus on the taste and texture of the food. When you walk, feel your feet on the ground and notice the air around you. As we begin to practice mindfulness, we become more aware of the habits and patterns of our mind. We notice how often we dwell on the past or worry about the future. We become aware of our thoughts, but we don't judge them. We simply observe. This practice of awareness brings clarity. When we see our thoughts clearly, we are no longer controlled by them. It's important to remember that mindfulness isn't about perfect focus or trying to clear the mind completely. The mind is naturally busy, and it's okay to have thoughts. What mindfulness teaches us is to simply notice those thoughts without getting caught up in them. We learn to see them for what they are, just thoughts. They do not define us, and they do not control us. In Buddhism, the concept of impermanence plays a key role in mindfulness. Everything, including our thoughts, is constantly changing. A thought that arises in the mind today may be gone tomorrow. By recognizing the impermanence of our thoughts, we let go of the need to cling to them. We understand that they are temporary, like clouds passing through the sky. This realization helps us stay grounded in the present, without being swept away by the currents of the past or the future. Mindfulness also helps us develop compassion, both for ourselves and for others. When we are mindful, we begin to see the world from a place of understanding. We see that everyone, including ourselves, is doing the best they can with what they have. We understand that suffering is a part of life, and we can offer kindness and empathy instead of judgment. This compassionate awareness creates a sense of connection with others, and it brings peace to our hearts. One of the most powerful aspects of mindfulness is its ability to reduce stress and anxiety. In our busy world, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the demands of life. But when we practice mindfulness, we give ourselves the space to slow down. We stop racing ahead to the next task and instead focus on what is right in front of us. This shift in focus helps us feel more grounded and less caught up in the whirlwind of life. We learn to respond to situations with clarity and calm, rather than reacting impulsively. As you begin to incorporate mindfulness into your life, you may notice subtle changes. Perhaps you will feel more connected to the present moment, more aware of your surroundings, or more at peace with yourself. These small moments of awareness are like seeds. Over time, they grow and blossom into a deeper sense of wisdom and understanding. The more you practice, the more you will begin to see the world with fresh eyes. Mindfulness is also a path to greater self-awareness. In the quiet of the present moment, we can observe our thoughts, emotions, and actions without the distractions of the past or future. We become aware of our true nature, beyond the labels and judgments we place on ourselves. This self-awareness leads to greater clarity in decision-making and a deeper sense of purpose in life. We begin to align our thoughts, words, and actions with our deepest values and aspirations. One of the beautiful things about mindfulness is that it's available to us at any moment. You don't need special equipment or a perfect environment. All you need is the willingness to be present. Whether you're sitting in meditation, walking in the park, or simply doing the dishes, mindfulness can be practiced in every part of life. It's about being fully present with whatever you're doing, without distraction or judgment. But, like any skill, mindfulness requires practice. It's easy to get distracted, to slip back into old patterns of thinking. The key is to be patient with yourself. Don't expect immediate results. Just as a tree takes time to grow, so does your practice. The more you show up for yourself, the more you will see the fruits of mindfulness in your life. In Buddhism, the concept of right mindfulness is part of the Noble Eightfold Path, which is a guide for living a wise and compassionate life. Right mindfulness involves not only being aware of our thoughts and actions, but also being aware of their impact on others. It's about living with intention, paying attention to how our words and actions affect the world around us. This deeper awareness leads to a life that is not only better for us, but also for others. Through mindfulness, we learn to let go of attachment. We stop clinging to things, whether they are material possessions, relationships, or even our own beliefs. We understand that attachment leads to suffering. When we let go, we free ourselves from the burden of desire and expectation. We can simply enjoy life as it is, without constantly striving for something more. As you continue on this journey, remember that mindfulness is not a destination but a practice. It's not about achieving some ideal state of mind. It's about being present, moment by moment, with whatever arises. Through mindfulness, we learn to see clearly, act wisely, and live with compassion. By cultivating mindful awareness, we begin to see the interconnectedness of all things. We understand that our actions, thoughts, and words have an impact, not just on ourselves but on the world around us. This awareness deepens our connection to others and to the world, leading to a life that is richer, more meaningful, and full of peace. So, take a deep breath. In this moment, let go of all the distractions. Be present with yourself and the world around you. Notice what you see, what you hear, what you feel. This is the beginning of mindfulness. This is the beginning of smarter thinking and a better life. Embracing simplicity in thought and action. In this world of endless distractions, we often forget the power of simplicity. Our minds are like cluttered rooms filled with unnecessary things, thoughts, worries, and anxieties that we've accumulated over time. But to think smarter and live better, we must learn to embrace simplicity. It's not about having less, but about making room for what truly matters. The Buddha spoke often about the importance of simplicity. He encouraged his followers to live with fewer desires, fewer attachments, and fewer distractions. By doing so, they could experience life more fully, without the weight of unnecessary thoughts and possessions. In today's world, this can be difficult, but it's also more important than ever. When we simplify our thinking, we allow our minds to focus on what truly matters. We stop chasing after every passing thought, every fleeting worry, and we start paying attention to the present moment. The present moment is all we really have, yet so often we waste it, caught up in thoughts of the past or the future. To think smarter is to be fully present in each moment, without distraction. Think about the simplest things in your life: breathing, walking, eating. These are the moments that are truly yours, and yet they are often overlooked. When you eat, do you really taste your food? When you walk, do you feel each step? These simple acts are rich with experience, but only if you are truly present. Simplicity allows you to enjoy them fully. When we simplify our lives, we also reduce our mental noise. The more complicated our thoughts become, the harder it is to think clearly. By stripping away the excess, we make room for clarity. And when our minds are clear, we can see the world around us more clearly as well. You may ask, how can I simplify my thinking? The answer is not as complicated as it seems. First, become aware of your thoughts. Notice how many of them are unnecessary, repetitive, or unhelpful. Begin to let go of these thoughts, one by one. This is the practice of mindfulness. It's the art of being present with what is, without clinging to what was or what could be. Another way to embrace simplicity is to focus on one thing at a time. In a world that encourages multitasking, we often think that doing many things at once is the key to being productive. But in reality, multitasking often leads to confusion and mistakes. When we focus on just one thing, we give it our full attention. This brings clarity and effectiveness. In the Buddhist tradition, there is a saying, when you are walking, walk. When you are sitting, sit. This simple advice reminds us to be fully present with whatever we are doing, rather than dividing our attention between a dozen things at once. Whether you are working, eating, or simply sitting in stillness, make that the only thing that matters at that moment. This focus is the essence of simplicity. Living simply doesn't mean denying yourself the pleasures of life. It means being intentional about what you bring into your life. It's about asking yourself, what truly serves me? What brings me peace, joy, and fulfillment? The more you focus on these things, the less space there is for distractions and unnecessary desires. The practice of simplicity also extends to our actions. In a world that constantly demands more from us, it can be easy to fall into the trap of doing everything at once. We say yes to everything and spread ourselves thin. But just as we simplify our thoughts, we must simplify our actions. Focus on what is most important and let go of the rest. Simplicity in action means doing less, but doing it better. It's about quality, not quantity. In Buddhism, there is a practice called right effort. This means putting in the effort where it matters most, with focus and intention, rather than scattering our energy in many directions. When we do less but with greater attention, our work becomes more meaningful. In your daily life, look for ways to simplify. Perhaps it's saying no to unnecessary commitments or decluttering your physical space. Maybe it's reducing the number of thoughts that occupy your mind by focusing on the present moment. The more you simplify, the more you will notice the beauty and richness of life that was always there, waiting for you to notice. Simplicity is not about deprivation or living without pleasure. It's about freedom, the freedom to focus on what truly matters. When we let go of the clutter, we make space for the things that bring us peace, joy, and fulfillment. By simplifying our thoughts, actions, and desires, we free ourselves from the noise of the world and connect more deeply with the essence of life itself. In Buddhism, the ultimate goal is to reach a state of enlightenment, a state of perfect clarity and peace. The path to this state is through simplicity. By simplifying our lives, we remove the layers of confusion and attachment that cloud our minds, allowing us to experience the world as it truly is. When we embrace simplicity, we embrace clarity. And when we think clearly, we begin to see the true nature of things. We realize that everything we need is already within us, and that the external world, though rich and beautiful, is not where our happiness lies. Our happiness comes from within, from our ability to be present, mindful, and free from the clutter of unnecessary thoughts and desires. So, as you go about your day, take a moment to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, how can I simplify this moment? It could be as simple as taking a deep breath, letting go of a worry, or focusing on a single task. Each moment is an opportunity to embrace simplicity. The more you practice this, the clearer your mind will become, and the more you will experience the peace that comes from living simply. In the end, the wisdom of simplicity is a path to a smarter way of thinking. It allows us to focus on what truly matters and let go of everything else. It frees us from the distractions of modern life and opens us to the beauty of the present moment. To think smarter is to simplify, to clear away the noise, and to be fully present with what is. By embracing simplicity in thought and action, we can live better lives. Lives that are focused, clear, and full of meaning. The key is not to try harder or do more, but to do less, with greater focus and intention. This is the art of living with clarity, and it is the path to a truly fulfilling life. The wisdom of cause and effect. In life, everything has a cause and effect. It is a simple truth, yet often we forget it. We act in ways that seem random or disconnected from the world around us. But when we truly understand the nature of cause and effect, we begin to see how every thought, every action, and every decision we make ripples outward, shaping not just our lives but the lives of those around us. Imagine a stone thrown into a pond. The moment the stone touches the water, ripples spread out across the surface. They start small, but they grow, influencing everything they touch. In the same way, our thoughts and actions create ripples. What we think today can influence how we feel tomorrow. What we do today can shape the events of our lives in ways we may not even realize. This is the principle of cause and effect in action. In Buddhism, we call this karma. Karma is often misunderstood. Many people think it's just about good and bad actions. If you do good, good things happen. If you do bad, bad things happen. While this is true, it is also much more complex than that. Karma is about the energy we create with every thought, word, and action. Every choice we make sends out a ripple into the world, and that ripple returns to us in some way. It may not return immediately or in the exact form we expect, but it returns. When you understand karma, you begin to realize the power you have over your own life. Every moment is an opportunity to shape your future. By choosing thoughts and actions that are positive, mindful, and compassionate, you set the stage for a life filled with peace and happiness. But if your thoughts are clouded with anger, greed, or fear, then the ripples you send out will return to you in the form of suffering. But here's the beauty of it. You have the power to change the ripples you create. Each moment is an opportunity for a new choice. If you find yourself reacting in anger, you can stop, breathe, and choose a more mindful response. If you find yourself overwhelmed by fear, you can pause and remind yourself that fear, too, is a fleeting feeling, not a permanent state of being. By choosing kindness, patience, and wisdom, you create positive ripples that flow into your future. This is not to say that life will always be smooth or easy. We will all face challenges, losses, and difficult moments. But when we understand the wisdom of cause and effect, we know that even in the darkest moments, we have the power to choose how we respond, and it is in our response that we shape our future. Let us consider an example from everyday life. Imagine you are in a disagreement with someone close to you. Your emotions are high, and you feel the urge to speak harshly, to defend your position, to make the other person understand your point of view. If you react in that moment, the words you speak may have a lasting effect on your relationship. The ripples of anger, hurt, and defensiveness will spread, and it may take time to mend what was broken. But if, in that moment, you pause and breathe, you open the space for a more mindful response. You may choose to listen instead of speak, to understand instead of defend. You may speak from a place of calm rather than frustration. In doing so, you create ripples of peace and understanding, which will return to you in the form of a deeper connection and harmony. This is the essence of mindfulness, awareness of the present moment and the choices you make within it. By being aware of the cause and effect of your actions, you can begin to choose the causes that lead to peaceful and positive effects. It is important to understand that the ripples of cause and effect are not always immediate. Sometimes, we may feel that we are putting out good energy into the world, but it seems like nothing changes. The ripples may be small at first, but over time, they will grow and spread. And just as a small stone can create ripples that travel across an entire pond, your positive actions can eventually lead to profound change in your life and in the lives of others. But cause and effect is not just about individual actions. It is also about the collective energy we create as a society. The way we treat others, the way we interact with the world around us, the choices we make as a community, all of these create a collective karma that shapes the world we live in. If we want to see a world filled with kindness, peace, and compassion, then we must first cultivate those qualities within ourselves. The energy we put out will return to us, shaping not just our personal lives, but the world as a whole. The wisdom of cause and effect teaches us to be intentional with our thoughts, words, and actions. It asks us to be aware of the energy we are creating and to take responsibility for the ripples we send out into the world. It reminds us that every choice matters, that each moment is an opportunity to create positive change. As you move through your day, remember this. Everything you do, every thought you think, every word you speak, creates ripples in the world. You may not always see the effects right away, but trust that the energy you send out will return to you. And over time, you will see the fruits of your mindful actions, peace, happiness, and harmony in your life. So, think smarter. Be aware of the causes you are creating. If you want to live a better life, begin by making better choices. Choose thoughts that uplift you. Choose actions that serve your highest good. And choose to be kind, compassionate, and mindful in every moment. The wisdom of cause and effect is always at work. Now it's time to use it to create the life you truly desire. Remember, every thought, every action, is like a stone thrown into the water. The ripples you create will return to you. Make those ripples beautiful. Make them full of love, peace, and wisdom. And as you do, you will find that the world around you begins to reflect the calm, the clarity, and the joy that you have cultivated within yourself. Cultivating emotional resilience. In the world of constant change, it is natural for emotions to rise and fall like the tides of the ocean. Yet, many of us often struggle with these emotions. We let anger, fear, and sadness take control. We forget that we have the power to rise above them, to choose how we respond. Emotional resilience is the ability to remain steady, no matter what life throws at us. It's about finding peace within, even when the world around us seems chaotic. Imagine a stormy sea. Waves crash violently against the shore, pulling and pushing, creating a scene of turmoil. But there, in the center of it all, there's a small rock, unmoved by the waves, calm and steady. This rock represents emotional resilience. Just as the rock stays still amid the storm, we can learn to stay calm in the face of our emotions. To cultivate emotional resilience, we must first acknowledge our feelings. When we suppress or ignore our emotions, they grow stronger, often becoming uncontrollable. It's like trying to hold a balloon underwater. The harder we push, the more it will pop up with force. Instead of pushing our emotions away, we must allow ourselves to feel them fully. Recognize them for what they are, temporary visitors, not permanent residents. When we accept our emotions, we take the first step toward understanding them. Feelings like anger, fear, and sadness are not enemies. They are simply signals, letting us know something within us needs attention. By recognizing them, we gain clarity. Emotional resilience is not about avoiding difficult feelings. It's about facing them with equanimity. In Buddhism, there is a concept called equanimity, a balanced, calm state of mind that remains undisturbed in the face of both joy and sorrow. This is the heart of emotional resilience. It is the understanding that life is a mixture of highs and lows, but none of them are permanent. Everything is in constant flux, and our emotions are no different. By embracing the ebb and flow of our feelings, we begin to understand their impermanence. One powerful Buddhist practice that helps cultivate emotional resilience is mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to observe our emotions without judgment. When we are mindful, we don't react impulsively. Instead, we create space between the feeling and our response. This space gives us the opportunity to choose how we want to act. Do we want to react with anger, or do we want to respond with understanding and compassion? The choice is ours. When anger arises, mindfulness allows us to observe it without being consumed by it. We can notice the heat in our chest, the tension in our muscles, and the tightening of our breath. Instead of acting on these sensations, we can take a step back, breathe deeply, and choose a response that is rooted in wisdom. The same applies to fear and sadness. Mindfulness allows us to witness these emotions without letting them define us. Another key aspect of emotional resilience is letting go of attachment. Many of us hold on tightly to our emotions, as if they are a part of our identity. We say things like, "I am angry," or "I am sad," as if these feelings are permanent parts of who we are. But in reality, emotions are just passing experiences. They come and go, like clouds in the sky. When we let go of our attachment to these feelings, we can allow them to pass without holding on to them. This is where the Buddhist concept of non-attachment becomes important. Non-attachment doesn't mean that we stop feeling or caring. It simply means that we don't let our emotions control us. We understand that just as the sun rises and sets, our feelings rise and fall. We can learn to embrace them without becoming enslaved by them. This is the key to emotional resilience. Let's take a moment to reflect on the story of the Buddha. When he sat under the Bodhi tree, he faced his emotions head-on. He didn't run from fear or pain. Instead, he sat with them, observed them, and allowed them to pass. Through this practice, he attained enlightenment. The Buddha's journey shows us that emotional resilience is not about avoiding pain, but learning how to face it with courage and wisdom. One of the most powerful ways to build emotional resilience is through compassion, both for ourselves and for others. When we are kind to ourselves in times of difficulty, we create a strong foundation of emotional strength. Often, we are our own harshest critics, telling ourselves we should just get over it or move on. But this only adds more weight to our emotional burdens. Compassion allows us to embrace ourselves with kindness, understanding that it's okay to feel vulnerable. In the same way, when we cultivate compassion for others, we build emotional resilience. When we see someone struggling, instead of reacting with judgment or frustration, we can respond with empathy. This deepens our connection with others and strengthens our ability to stay calm in the face of emotional turbulence. Compassion softens the harshness of our emotional reactions, allowing us to respond with greater wisdom. We can also strengthen emotional resilience by practicing patience. In Buddhism, patience is seen as a powerful tool for cultivating a calm and balanced mind. Patience allows us to ride the waves of our emotions without getting swept away by them. When we are patient, we give ourselves the time to process our feelings and make thoughtful decisions. Instead of rushing into reactions, we take a moment to breathe and reflect. Patience also teaches us to trust the natural process of emotional healing. Emotions, like everything else, are impermanent. Just as a storm eventually passes, so too will our feelings of anger, sadness, or frustration. With patience, we allow ourselves the space to heal and move forward with greater resilience. To build emotional resilience, we must also take care of our bodies. The mind and body are deeply connected, and physical well-being plays a crucial role in emotional health. When we feel tired, stressed, or out of balance physically, it becomes harder to manage our emotions. Simple practices like getting enough sleep, eating nutritious foods, and exercising regularly can help strengthen our emotional resilience. Another important aspect of building emotional resilience is setting boundaries. Many of us allow others' emotions to affect us deeply, taking on their stress or negativity as our own. But emotional resilience requires us to recognize that we cannot control the emotions of others. We must set healthy boundaries that allow us to protect our emotional well-being while still being compassionate and understanding. It's important to remember that emotional resilience is not a destination, but a journey. It's something we cultivate day by day, moment by moment. Each time we face a challenging emotion and choose to respond with mindfulness, patience, and compassion, we strengthen our resilience. Over time, we become more capable of handling life's ups and downs with grace and wisdom. Just like any other skill, emotional resilience requires practice. And with practice, we become more adept at navigating the storms of life. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by our emotions, we learn to ride the waves with ease, knowing that calmness always follows the storm. In the end, cultivating emotional resilience is about returning to our true nature, one that is calm, balanced, and centered. By learning to face our emotions with awareness and compassion, we begin to uncover the peace that lies within us all. And as we cultivate this peace, we begin to live better, with greater clarity, joy, and harmony. Mastering the mind's inner dialogue. The mind is always speaking. It never stops. Thoughts come and go like clouds passing across the sky. Sometimes they are gentle, soft, and calm. Other times, they are stormy, loud, and overwhelming. But here's the question. Who is listening to these thoughts? Who is the one speaking, and who is the one listening? In our busy lives, we often forget that we can choose the voice we listen to. The mind is not the master of us. We are the master of our mind. If we let the mind run wild, it leads us into confusion, frustration, and stress. But if we learn to observe the thoughts without attachment, we begin to gain control over them. This is where Buddhist wisdom teaches us the importance of mindfulness. By becoming aware of our thoughts, we can decide which ones are worth listening to and which ones we should let go of. Just as we would not hold on to a poisonous snake, we must not hold on to harmful thoughts. Let them pass, like a leaf floating downstream. Take a moment now to think about the thoughts that fill your mind each day. How many of them are positive? How many are negative? How many of them simply repeat the same stories over and over? The truth is, the mind is often like a radio station, constantly broadcasting its thoughts. But not every station is worth tuning into. Just because a thought appears doesn't mean we must follow it. The key to mastering the inner dialogue is to practice awareness. Imagine you are standing in the middle of a busy street, and there are many people talking around you. You don't have to pay attention to every conversation. You can simply stand still, observe the noise, and choose to focus on what is most important to you. In the same way, we can observe the thoughts in our minds without getting lost in them. Buddhism teaches us that the mind is like a garden. If we plant seeds of peace, kindness, and wisdom, those are the thoughts that will grow. But if we constantly feed the weeds of anger, jealousy, and fear, those will grow instead. The good news is that we have the power to choose what we plant. We have the power to shape our own mental landscape. Each day, take a few moments to check in with your mind. What thoughts are you carrying? Are they serving you, or are they making your life harder? If they are not helping you, then let them go. This is not about suppressing thoughts, but about recognizing them for what they are, just thoughts. They do not define you. You are the observer, not the thought. When we learn to master our inner dialogue, we begin to understand the deeper truths of our minds. We realize that thoughts are not fixed. They come and go, like the weather. One moment it may be stormy, and the next moment the sun may shine through. This fluidity of thought is natural, but we must learn not to become attached to the storm. Instead, we can simply wait for the clouds to pass. In Buddhism, there is a teaching called right thought. This means thinking in a way that leads to peace, wisdom, and compassion. When our thoughts are rooted in these qualities, we begin to experience the world in a completely different way. We see opportunities instead of obstacles. We see connection instead of separation. And, most importantly, we see ourselves with kindness and understanding. To practice right thought, start by paying attention to the thoughts that arise throughout the day. When a negative thought comes, ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Does it bring peace or suffering? If the answer is suffering, gently let it go. Replace it with a thought that brings peace. It could be as simple as, I am enough, or, this too shall pass. These simple reminders can shift our mental state and help us stay grounded. But mastering the mind's inner dialogue is not easy. It requires patience, practice, and consistency. Just as it takes time to cultivate a garden, it takes time to cultivate a peaceful mind. There will be days when your thoughts feel like a storm you cannot control. But remember, the storm will pass. And each time you let go of a harmful thought, you are one step closer to mastering your inner dialogue. Another powerful tool is meditation. Through meditation, we can quiet the mind and observe it from a place of stillness. When we meditate, we are not trying to stop our thoughts. Instead, we are simply observing them without judgment. Like clouds passing across the sky, we allow the thoughts to come and go, knowing that we are not defined by them. As you meditate, focus on your breath. When a thought arises, acknowledge it, and then return to the breath. This practice helps us develop the ability to let go of thoughts more easily in our daily lives. The more you practice, the more you will find that you can detach from negative or distracting thoughts quickly, allowing your mind to return to a state of calm and clarity. Mastering the mind's inner dialogue is about cultivating a new relationship with your thoughts. Instead of being ruled by them, you become their observer. You begin to see them for what they truly are: fleeting, impermanent, and not necessarily true. When you stop identifying with every thought, you gain freedom. You are no longer a prisoner of your own mind. You are the master of it. This shift in mindset allows us to respond to life's challenges with greater wisdom and clarity. When we are not attached to every thought, we are not reacting out of habit or fear. Instead, we can respond from a place of awareness, choosing our actions with intention and understanding. This is how we begin to live smarter, not by thinking more, but by thinking with greater awareness and mindfulness. So, take a moment right now and ask yourself, what is the quality of your inner dialogue? Are you speaking kindly to yourself? Are your thoughts helping you grow, or are they holding you back? If your inner dialogue is filled with negativity, try shifting it to something more positive. Start small. With practice, you will notice a significant change in how you feel and how you experience the world. In Buddhism, there is a practice called right speech, which goes hand in hand with right thought. Right speech encourages us to speak truthfully, kindly, and mindfully. It also encourages us to be aware of how we speak to ourselves. Just as we would not speak harshly to a friend, we should not speak harshly to ourselves. Our thoughts and our words have the power to shape our reality. When we master our inner dialogue, we begin to create a life of peace, clarity, and wisdom. In the end, mastering the mind's inner dialogue is a lifelong practice. It is not something that happens overnight, but with dedication and patience, it becomes easier. Each time you let go of a negative thought, you are training your mind to think smarter. Each time you choose peace over anger, you are living better. And with each small step, you are creating a life that is more aligned with your true nature. A life of peace, clarity, and wisdom. Remember, you are the master of your mind. Your thoughts do not define you. They are just passing clouds in the sky. You are the sky itself, vast, open, and limitless. So, the next time a negative thought arises, simply observe it, let it pass, and return to the peace that is always within you. This is the path to mastering the mind's inner dialogue and living a smarter, better life. Breaking free from mental traps. In life, there are times when our minds feel trapped, like we are stuck in a loop of thoughts that never end. These thoughts are like chains, holding us back from living fully. We find ourselves overthinking, doubting, or worrying about things we cannot control. It's as if we're prisoners of our own minds. But what if we could break free? What if we could free ourselves from these traps and experience the freedom of a clear and peaceful mind? To begin, let's understand what these mental traps are. They are not physical cages, but patterns of thought that prevent us from seeing the world as it truly is. These patterns are often born from fear, insecurity, or past experiences. Sometimes they are rooted in negative thinking, where we focus on what's wrong rather than what's right. Other times, these traps are formed by attachments to our desires, our past, or even our sense of self. A key teaching in Buddhism is the idea of attachment. Attachment, in simple terms, is when we hold on too tightly to something, whether it's an idea, a person, or an outcome. When we attach ourselves to something, we create a trap. We believe that without this thing, we cannot be happy. We start to define our worth by these attachments, and when they are threatened or lost, we feel like we are losing a part of ourselves. For example, imagine someone who is overly attached to being right. They hold on to their opinions so tightly that they cannot see or hear anyone else's perspective. When someone challenges their ideas, they become defensive, frustrated, and upset. This is a mental trap. The mind becomes caught in the need to prove itself, and in the process, peace is lost. The solution is simple. Let go of the need to be right. Embrace the freedom that comes with listening, learning, and staying open. Another common mental trap is the trap of comparison. In today's world, with social media and constant access to others' lives, it's easy to fall into the habit of comparing ourselves to others. We look at their success, their relationships, their happiness, and we wonder why we're not the same. We start measuring our own worth by what others have or what they do. But comparison is a trap that leads nowhere. It is based on the illusion that there is a standard to follow, when, in reality, each person's path is unique. To break free from this trap, we must return to ourselves. We must stop comparing and start appreciating our own journey. Recognize that your life is yours, and it's not meant to mirror someone else's. Be content with who you are and where you are right now. This is the power of mindfulness, the ability to stay present with your own experiences without judgment or comparison. There is also the trap of constant striving. In our modern world, we are taught to always be working, always achieving, always moving forward. But when we are constantly in pursuit of the next goal, the next milestone, we miss out on the joy of the present moment. We forget to appreciate what we already have. This mindset can make us feel like we are never enough. We keep pushing, but never feeling truly satisfied. In Buddhism, there is a teaching about the middle path, finding balance between effort and rest, action and stillness. Striving is important, but so is taking a moment to breathe, to be still, and to appreciate the present. Life is not a race, it's a journey. If we spend all our time rushing toward the future, we miss the beauty of the present moment. Letting go of the trap of constant striving means embracing the idea that it's okay to be still. It's okay to rest. It's okay to be content with where you are. When you free yourself from the pressure to always achieve, you open up space for peace and gratitude to enter your life. The trap of negative self-talk is another common one. We all have an inner voice that speaks to us. Sometimes, that voice is kind and supportive, but at other times, it's harsh and critical. This inner voice can become a trap when it constantly tells us we are not good enough, that we are failures, or that we don't deserve happiness. The more we listen to this voice, the more we believe it. Buddhism teaches us that our thoughts are not who we are. They are simply passing clouds in the sky of our minds. Just as clouds come and go, so too do our thoughts. When we stop identifying with our negative thoughts, we begin to see them for what they truly are, just thoughts. They are not the truth of who we are. We are not failures. We are not unworthy. We are simply human, doing our best in each moment. Breaking free from this mental trap requires self-compassion. It means treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend. When you make a mistake or face a challenge, instead of criticizing yourself, take a moment to be kind. Tell yourself, "It's okay. I am doing my best." This simple act of compassion can release the grip of negative self-talk and allow space for positive, empowering thoughts to take root. One of the most powerful ways to break free from mental traps is through meditation. Meditation is a tool that helps us become more aware of our thoughts. It gives us the space to observe them without judgment. When we meditate, we learn to detach from our thoughts and see them as they are, temporary, fleeting, and often not as important as we think. Through meditation, we cultivate mindfulness, the ability to be fully present with whatever is happening right now, without getting caught up in past regrets or future worries. This awareness allows us to see the mental traps that we may be caught in and gives us the power to let them go. Meditation teaches us that we are not our thoughts. We are the awareness behind them. Another aspect of breaking free from mental traps is learning to forgive. Holding on to grudges or past hurts can keep us trapped in the past. We replay old arguments, relive old pain, and carry it with us wherever we go. Forgiveness is the key to releasing this burden. It doesn't mean that what happened was okay, but it means that you are choosing to let go of the pain and move forward. Forgiveness is a form of freedom. When you forgive, you free yourself from the trap of anger, resentment, and victimhood. You reclaim your power and your peace. It's important to remember that forgiveness is not just for others. It's for yourself too. Holding on to anger only hurts you in the end. Let go and allow yourself to heal. Lastly, to break free from mental traps, we must embrace impermanence. In Buddhism, we are taught that everything is temporary. Our thoughts, our feelings, our circumstances, even our lives. This awareness of impermanence helps us loosen our grip on things and situations that we believe will last forever. It allows us to flow with life, rather than fighting against it. When we understand that nothing stays the same forever, we can stop clinging to things and start embracing the present moment as it is. By recognizing impermanence, we free ourselves from the mental trap of attachment. We learn to let go, to trust in the flow of life, and to accept whatever comes our way with grace and openness. Breaking free from mental traps is a journey, one that requires patience, self-awareness, and practice. But with each step, we move closer to a life of freedom, peace, and joy. As we begin to see through the illusions of our thoughts, we find that the mind becomes a source of clarity and wisdom, rather than a prison of confusion and fear. Remember, the mind is a powerful tool, but only when it is free. When we let go of the mental traps that bind us, we create space for true freedom to arise. And in that freedom, we discover the beauty of simply being, the beauty of living fully in the present moment, the joy of present-centered thinking. In the rush of everyday life, we often find ourselves caught up in thoughts about the past or future. The past is filled with memories, regrets, and what-ifs. The future is full of hopes, dreams, and worries. But what about the present? Have you ever stopped to think about how much of life we miss when we're not fully here? Right now? You see, the present moment is where life truly happens. It is the only moment that is real. The past is gone, and the future has not yet arrived. If you can master the art of being present, you can experience the true joy of life. It's simple, but not always easy. In Buddhist teachings, we are reminded of the importance of mindfulness, being fully aware of what's happening in the moment without judgment or distraction. This doesn't mean you have to ignore the past or future entirely. It simply means that you stop letting them control your mind. When you are present, you are free from the burden of past regrets and future anxieties. Take a deep breath and look around. Right now, as you read this, you are experiencing life. The air, the light, the sounds. Everything is happening in this very moment. Can you feel it? The beauty of simply existing right here, right now. It is not something to chase or search for. It's already within you. When you are present, you experience life in its fullness. You appreciate the small things, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the sound of birds outside your window, the taste of your food. These moments are the essence of life, but so often, we rush through them without noticing. Why? Because we're too busy thinking about something else. When your mind is constantly in the past or future, you are missing the magic of the present. Think of a moment in your life when you were completely engaged, when you were so absorbed in the present that time seemed to slow down. Maybe it was a peaceful walk, a deep conversation, or simply sitting in silence. In those moments, you were truly living. Buddhism teaches us that suffering often comes from our attachment to the past or future. When we cling to past events, we hold on to the pain, the mistakes, and the regrets. When we focus too much on the future, we create anxiety about what may or may not happen. But in the present, there is peace. There is freedom. How can you begin to live more in the present? Start small. Begin by simply paying attention to your surroundings. Notice the sights, sounds, and sensations around you. When you find your mind wandering, gently bring it back to the moment. Don't judge yourself, just observe. It's like a muscle that needs practice to strengthen. You can also bring mindfulness to your daily activities. Whether you are eating, walking, or talking to someone, do it with full awareness. When you eat, really taste the food. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet. When you talk, listen deeply and truly connect with the person in front of you. These small shifts will help you stay grounded in the present. Another important aspect of present-centered thinking is letting go of the need for control. We often worry about the future because we feel the need to control it. But the truth is, control is an illusion. Life is unpredictable. The more you try to control everything, the more you will feel out of control. By accepting the uncertainty of life, you can let go of fear and anxiety. Trust that whatever comes, you will be able to handle it. In the present, you don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be present to respond to what is happening right now. There's a saying in Buddhism, when you walk, just walk. When you sit, just sit. This simple advice captures the essence of present-centered thinking. It's not about trying to do more or be better. It's about fully experiencing whatever it is you are doing at this moment. The more you practice this, the more you will begin to see the beauty in the simplest of things. Think about your own life. How often do you find yourself worrying about the future or dwelling on the past? How much time do you spend ruminating over things that are out of your control? What if, instead of worrying, you chose to focus on what is happening right in front of you? When you begin to live in the present, you will notice a shift in your perspective. You will feel less stress, less anxiety, and more peace. Life becomes more vibrant, more joyful, and more meaningful. It's not about waiting for something to happen. It's about fully embracing what is happening right now. But it's not just about finding peace in the present moment. When you are present, you also open yourself to deeper connections with others. How often do we miss out on meaningful conversations because our minds are somewhere else? When you are fully present with someone, you are truly listening, truly connecting. This builds stronger relationships, deeper friendships, and more genuine interactions. This is the beauty of mindfulness. It allows you to step out of the constant cycle of thinking, planning, and worrying. It brings you back to the simplicity of just being. In that simplicity, you will find freedom. As you practice being present, remember that it's not about perfection. There will be moments when your mind drifts, when you become lost in thought. That's okay. Gently bring yourself back to the present without judgment. Over time, this practice will become a natural part of your life. So, the next time you find yourself caught up in thoughts about the past or future, take a deep breath. Remind yourself that the present is the only moment that truly matters. And in that moment, you can find peace, joy, and the full experience of life. This is the joy of present-centered thinking. It's not about achieving something more, but about fully embracing what is already here. Life is waiting for you in this very moment. Will you accept it? As you continue on your journey of mindful living, remember that every moment is an opportunity to practice. The more you do, the more natural it will feel. The more present you become, the more you will see life in all its beauty and wonder. The choice is yours. Choose to be present, choose to live fully, aligning thought with purpose. In life, we often find ourselves caught in the whirlwind of daily tasks, distractions, and desires. It's easy to feel lost or unsure of what really matters. But when we take a step back, we can begin to see that everything starts with one simple question. What is your purpose? Your purpose isn't something far away or difficult to discover. It's within you, already present in the way you think, feel, and act. It's the reason you wake up each day, the direction that guides your choices, the light that illuminates your path. But often, we get distracted by things that aren't aligned with our true purpose. We become consumed by external pressures, by the opinions of others, or by the endless chase for success and material things. In the rush of life, we forget to ask ourselves, what truly matters? This is where the teachings of Buddhism can help. In the Buddhist tradition, there is an emphasis on mindfulness, clarity, and living with intention. It's about aligning your thoughts with your deeper purpose, living in a way that reflects your true values and what you believe is most important. When we begin to live with purpose, we stop wasting time on things that don't serve us and instead focus our energy on what truly matters. But how do we know if we are aligned with our purpose? The first step is to become mindful of your thoughts. Notice where your mind goes throughout the day. Are your thoughts scattered, constantly jumping from one thing to the next? Or are your thoughts centered, calm, and focused on what truly matters? If you find that your thoughts are often distracted or pulled in many different directions, that's okay. It's natural. But the practice of mindfulness invites us to observe these thoughts without judgment. We don't push them away or try to control them. Instead, we acknowledge them and bring our awareness back to the present moment. With practice, this allows us to slowly start aligning our thoughts with our true purpose. Once we become aware of our thoughts, the next step is to question them. Are these thoughts leading me toward my purpose? Are they in line with the values I hold dear? If the answer is no, it's time to shift our focus. When your thoughts are aligned with your purpose, they naturally guide you toward actions that support that purpose. This is not about achieving perfection. In fact, the path to purpose is not always straight or easy. There will be moments of confusion, doubt, and uncertainty. But as you continue to practice mindfulness, you begin to develop a clearer sense of direction. The more you connect your thoughts with your purpose, the more you will feel grounded in your life. One of the central teachings in Buddhism is the concept of right intention, part of the Eightfold Path. Right intention involves aligning your thoughts and desires with your highest ideals. It's about thinking in a way that is compassionate, wise, and peaceful. When you act with right intention, your actions naturally flow in alignment with your purpose. You begin to make choices that are not driven by fleeting desires or external pressures, but by a deep sense of inner knowing. For example, let's say your purpose is to cultivate kindness and peace in your life. When your thoughts are aligned with this purpose, you naturally choose to act with kindness toward others, even in challenging situations. You make decisions that reflect your values, and those decisions help bring you closer to the person you want to be. Another key aspect of aligning thought with purpose is understanding the impermanence of everything. In Buddhism, we are taught that nothing lasts forever. Our thoughts, our emotions, our circumstances, they are all temporary. When we align our thoughts with our true purpose, we learn to let go of the things that no longer serve us. We release attachments to outcomes, knowing that the journey itself is just as important as the destination. Aligning thought with purpose also means being open to change. As we grow and evolve, our purpose may shift, and our thoughts will naturally follow. What matters is that we remain mindful and present, continually assessing whether our thoughts and actions are in alignment with who we are becoming. Think of it as a compass. Your purpose is the true north, and your thoughts are the needle that points you in the right direction. When you are aligned, the needle points steadily toward your purpose. But when you are distracted or lost, the needle wavers, pulling you in different directions. The practice of mindfulness helps you reset that compass, guiding you back toward your purpose again and again. In this process, you will also begin to notice the power of your thoughts. When your thoughts are aligned with your purpose, they have the power to create positive change in your life. You begin to attract the right people, opportunities, and circumstances that support your journey. Your mind becomes a powerful tool, working in harmony with your purpose instead of working against you. This is the beauty of living with intention. When you think smarter, when you think with purpose, you start to see the world differently. You begin to recognize the interconnectedness of everything. Your thoughts shape your reality, and your reality begins to reflect the clarity and peace within. So, how can you start aligning your thoughts with your purpose today? The first step is simply to pause. Take a moment to ask yourself, what is my true purpose? What do I want to create in this world? Then, pay attention to your thoughts. Are they aligned with that purpose? If not, gently guide them back. With time and practice, you will find that your thoughts begin to naturally align with the path you are meant to walk. Remember, this is not a one-time effort. It's a lifelong journey of reflection, mindfulness, and growth. But each step you take toward aligning your thoughts with your purpose is a step toward a more meaningful and fulfilling life. When your thoughts are aligned with your purpose, you begin to live with clarity, peace, and joy. You make decisions that feel right in your heart. Your actions become an expression of your true self, and you feel connected to something greater than yourself. This is the path to living a better life. It starts with thinking smarter, and it leads to living with purpose. Every thought you have, every decision you make, can bring you closer to the life you are meant to live. And as you walk this path, you will discover that the more you align your thoughts with your purpose, the more you unlock the wisdom, peace, and joy that is already within you. The path to enlightened living. The path to a better life begins with understanding that everything is interconnected. We live in a world that constantly shifts and changes. The one thing that remains constant is our ability to choose how we respond to these changes. Every thought, every action, every breath carries with it the power to shape our experience. To live enlightened is not to escape the world, but to live fully within it, with wisdom, compassion, and awareness. When we think smarter, we are not simply using our minds to solve problems. We are using our minds to connect with the deeper truth of who we are. It is a process of uncovering what lies beneath the surface, moving beyond the noise of everyday life, and embracing a deeper level of understanding. To think smarter is to see beyond the limitations of the mind and to recognize the vastness of our potential. Buddhism teaches us that enlightenment is not a far-off goal, but a state of being available in every moment. The Buddha did not sit under the Bodhi tree to escape life, but to see it clearly. Through his clarity, He understood that suffering arises from attachments to ideas, possessions, and even identities. When we let go of these attachments, we open ourselves to a new way of being. It's like clearing the fog that clouds our vision so we can see the world in its true light. To think smarter is to let go of the need to control everything. Life is not something we can grasp with our hands, but something we experience with our hearts and minds. We don't need to control the winds, but we can adjust our sails. This is the heart of Buddhist wisdom, accepting what we cannot change and taking responsibility for what we can. It is a delicate balance of surrender and action, of being and doing. This balance is at the core of enlightened living. To be enlightened is not to be in a constant state of bliss, untouched by life's challenges. It is, instead, to be at peace with life's challenges. When we understand that everything in life is temporary, both the good and the bad, we stop clinging to the moments that pass and stop fearing those that come. We can simply be present with what is, knowing that all things, like the seasons, will change. Enlightened living is not a state of perfection, but of wisdom. Wisdom that comes from understanding that life is not about accumulating things, but about letting go of things that no longer serve us. It is about recognizing that true happiness is not found in possessions, achievements, or the approval of others. True happiness comes from within, from the peace we cultivate in our own hearts. How does one live in such a way? The answer is in how we approach every moment. In each breath, in each step, in each action, we can choose to be aware. Awareness is the key to smarter thinking and a better life. When we are aware, we are not ruled by our thoughts, but we observe them. We become the witness of our own minds. This is the first step in freeing ourselves from the endless cycle of stress, confusion, and suffering. Mindful living begins with accepting that we don't have all the answers. There is no need to rush to conclusions or fix things immediately. When we take the time to sit quietly, to breathe deeply, and to observe our thoughts, we create space for wisdom to emerge. This is not about forcing solutions, but about allowing the right answers to come in their own time. It is like a garden that grows when it is nurtured, not when it is forced. Thinking smarter also means understanding that life is not about what happens to us, but how we respond to what happens. When we react impulsively, we are controlled by our emotions. But when we respond with mindfulness and clarity, we move with the flow of life, rather than against it. This is a skill that can be developed over time, with patience and practice. The Buddha often spoke of the middle path, a path that avoids the extremes of indulgence and denial. This middle way is about balance. When we balance our thoughts, we begin to see the world as it truly is, free from the distortions created by our attachments and desires. This balance is not about avoiding challenges, but about meeting them with wisdom and understanding. In every situation, there is an opportunity to practice this middle way. Whether we are facing a challenge at work, in our relationships, or within ourselves, we can choose how we respond. Do we respond with frustration, fear, or anger? Or do we choose to respond with calm, understanding, and openness? The choice is ours. To live enlightened is to live with intention. Every action, every word, every thought is an opportunity to bring more awareness into the world. Enlightened living is not about avoiding mistakes, but about learning from them. It is about seeing every experience as an opportunity to grow, to deepen our understanding, and to be more fully alive. As we journey through life, we begin to realize that the external world is not the source of our happiness or suffering. It is our internal world, the way we think, feel, and respond, that shapes our reality. When we change our minds, we change our world. This is the essence of smarter thinking, transforming the way we perceive life to create a more peaceful, purposeful existence. This transformation does not happen overnight. It requires consistent practice, patience, and self-compassion. There will be times when we stumble, when our thoughts and emotions overwhelm us. But these moments are not failures. They are opportunities to return to the present moment, to reset, and to continue on the path. The more we practice, the easier it becomes to return to a state of clarity and peace. Ultimately, the path to enlightened living is not a destination but a journey. It is the unfolding of our true nature, the realization that we are already whole, already complete. We do not need to seek enlightenment outside of ourselves. It is within us, always, waiting to be recognized. As we walk this path, we learn to trust ourselves more deeply. We begin to understand that our thoughts are not who we are, that our emotions are not our identity, and that our actions can be guided by wisdom rather than impulse. We become more in tune with the world around us, more connected to the people we meet, and more at peace with ourselves. The more we practice thinking smarter, the more we live better. Our lives become less about striving for what we don't have, and more about appreciating what we do have. We stop looking for happiness in external things and start finding it within. We let go of the need for approval, the need to prove ourselves, and the need to control everything. We simply let life unfold as it is, with gratitude and grace. This is the essence of enlightened living. Living with an open heart and a clear mind, embracing each moment as it comes, and responding with wisdom and compassion. It is about living in harmony with ourselves and with the world around us. And as we continue on this path, we discover that the true source of happiness and peace was within us all along. So, the next time life feels overwhelming or confusing, remember, the key to living better is not found in the outside world, but in the way you choose to think. Think smarter, live better, and know that, with each passing moment, you are one step closer to the peace and wisdom you seek.